Kirk Cousins asked for a meeting with the Falcons owner, Arthur Blank, got said meeting, asked for a trade to a team where he can actually start next year because we know Michael Penix is the guy in Atlanta now, but the Falcons don't plan on moving him, releasing him, trading him, anything of that aspect. So let me ask you, JV, who should call the Falcons to take them out of their misery with Kirk Cousins? Even though the Falcons said they don't want to, I think if someone picked up that phone and gave them a well enough offer, they would entertain it. I mean, you can't not, because this is one of the worst contracts maybe in Atlanta sports history.
Well, you just answered the question for yourself. Absolutely nobody should realistically be calling the Falcons about the Kirk Cousins contract. And it is so remarkable. And I would have loved to be in the room when the Atlanta front office decided to pay a quarterback coming off a season-ending injury, going into his 36th year on planet Earth, $45 million per year over 4 years. That means at age 40, you have Kirk Cousins at $45 million per year. That is unreal. So how bad does that contract look today compared to when it was signed? It's just the same. It's looked terrible ever since it happened. And what team, if it were to be anybody, it would be a team notorious for doing stupid things like the Cleveland Browns. I don't think a team with a competent or even half competent front office and organization would actually want to invest in that. And I like Kirk he's portrayed as such a great guy. He was in the quarterback documentary, seemed like, family guy, loved what he was doing, loved football, bought into it. But there's a time and a place. And I think Kirk Cousins is kind of, he's gotten over the hump of his peak, if you want to call it a peak. And now he's kind of slowly deteriorating into retirement. I don't think he moves. I don't think anybody wants him. And I don't think the Falcons want to cut him because of the dead cap.
And see, I know I don't understand NFL numbers all the way around, but when I hear things like, I don't want to cut him for the dead cap, okay, so you want more money to spend this year, but at the end of it all, you're still going to have to pay him until you move off of him, or however the contracts are worked out, right? Like, don't take that for face value. And I think what happened recently in the league for really me to adopt that mindset was when the Broncos cut Russell Wilson. They just flat out let him go. It's what I think the Saints should do with Derek Carr. It's more than likely what the Falcons should do with Kirk Cousins, because I feel kind of silly defending Kirk Cousins last year and even advocating for the Falcons. The Falcons signed Kirk Cousins last year to this type of money because they were traumatized over the Desmond Ridder experience that happened and over the Marcus Mariota experience, and then he ends up quitting on the team. It was the Matt Ryan 2.0 era. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Kirk Cousins was a guy who was throwing to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and guys like TJ Hawkinson, who were brought over in a trade, being able to target Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, all very good players at the time, and some of them still to this day. And now, the Falcons didn't have anybody really efficiently who could deliver the ball to a Bijan, to a Kyle Pitts, to a Drake London, to this year, a Darnell Mooney, I'm trying to think of the other receiver that they had. I can't remember off the top of my head, but either way, like, they wanted someone who could deliver the football at a high level. And that's what they got in Kirk Cousins for about 10 weeks. And then we see him get hurt. Ironically, he got hurt against my Saints. We see him hampered later on in the season. He covers it up, comes out in Super Bowl week, says, hey, yeah, I was actually hurt. So that's going to come down on him. That's going to come down on the Falcons. The Falcons already got in trouble for illegally tampering with him, even though the league allows you 2 full days before free agency opens. They adopted this 13 years ago in 2012. They allow you to tamper early, and the Falcons still step in and end up doing that. And it looks like on his way out, whenever it's going to be, the Falcons are possibly going to get hit with that as well. I think they were, if I'm not mistaken, I saw a report about them getting investigated for, Kirk Cousins kind of covering up this injury. So I didn't blame the Falcons for signing him. Now, the money wasn't the greatest. When you talk about $100 million, guaranteed, wasn't the greatest. And outside of the Achilles injury, Kirk Cousins had missed 1 or 2 games, if I recall, from actual injury. The only other one he missed because he didn't pass a COVID test or didn't pass the COVID protocol, which, 75% of the league that year ended up not being able to play in certain games because of the COVID protocol. So I understand them wanting someone to deliver the football at a high level because they have a lot of talent offensively. If anyone were to call and trade for this, because again, not only when you trade for the player, you're trading for the contract as well. That's why we'll see a lot, hey, this person just traded for them, and also they're working on a new deal like immediately. That's because if they don't like the money, they're going to restructure. They're going to do a buyout, break out of it, whatever they can do. Again, I'm not extremely savvy to what these teams can do with the numbers because I feel like they can kind of do anything. We saw Tom Brady get removed from the cap with the Patriots. It felt like multiple times. If someone's going to call and trade for Kirk Cousins in that contract, I think it would be a stupid team like the Browns, just like you said. He's heavily rumored to the Browns.
Yeah.
I also could see the Steelers doing it because what do they have in Russ? What's really going on in the quarterback room? But they do have a DK. They do have a Pickens. They do have a Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington. They had a Najee Harris until he got out of the building. That's really the only two teams. The Titans are going to draft a quarterback. There's no question about that. And I think the Giants are going to draft a quarterback as well, or they're going to land some bozo like Aaron Rodgers. Let's just call it what it is. And the contract looks so bad. Like, it was already looking bad after he was looking rough down the stretch, and then Michael Penix came in to fill in for him. And it was bad when they did the 4 years, $180 million. And it was bad when we figured out that it was $100 million guaranteed. And now it just continues to look worse as time goes on. So I feel for Falcons fans in this aspect because I know what it's like to overpay for a player and then not even get a full season out of him. I mean, the Falcons literally got, 10 games? Like, they barely had Kirk Cousins play for them for like 100 days, basically. And then Michael Penix came in and took it over, man.
Yeah.
So.
And then it was like, oh, Michael Penix is the guy too. Like, he's our guy. So it is a win for the Falcons, but at what cost? Like, you could have saved yourself and just drafted Penix.
Yep, which people were freaking out about at the time. And again, another horrible aspect for the contract because Michael Penix ended up getting drafted. Like, they got to decide here. They got to make a decision on when it comes down to the quarterback position.
Hey, it's AJL here. Appreciate you sticking to the end of the video here on YouTube. You could have chose any other show, but you chose my video, and for that, I'm very grateful. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media. Hit the bell on the channel so you never miss a post. Check me out on all social media platforms. Right here, you'll find a chance to subscribe to the show, a related video, and a playlist. See you guys in the next one.